Well, you know what? There's many different things you put into a performance. I spent a lot of time with Sam Childers to get to know him and to really kind of try and understand him and see how he views life, how he talks about things, see, you know, just what's going on in his soul. The way, I learned so much about him, the way he talked about his past, the way he smelled about things, the way he cried, because he cries very easily. A lot of pain and guilt inside him. Then you do your research on Sudan, that situation, because it's incredibly powerful and harrowing what's going on there. So I had to sit down, watch these really harrowing documentaries. I had a book, I had a folder full of photos of kids that had been hacked to death, burned alive, family, whole villages, where they'd just been wiped out, mass graves. That's what I used on a daily basis to climb into that. And then it's just a kind of examination of self. You go, you take yourself to I've been in some pretty low places in my life. I try and connect that with the character, and then you use where the character went and the situations. If you're out in Africa and you're surrounded by these incredible kids, and then suddenly you're in you have to pick up a kid and imagine that you're only holding half of that kid, it's pretty easy to take yourself to where you got to go, So with this movie, it was really just kind of, I don't know, just diving into it, but that's why it was a big challenge, and yet it was such an epic journey for me. It saddens you greatly that there is no answer, that this is still happening, and yet at the same time it made it in some ways easier to play, because when you're doing this you realize this is happening all around me as we speak. So for instance, there's a scene we do when I'm running with the kids, and we were trying to get the kids to keep quiet because they would be heard by the rebels, but they couldn't. Well, I found out later they couldn't because they were so terrified. That moment, it hits you just what these kids are going through, and this is just on a movie set. When you imagine that is happening in a lot of different places around the world, but especially in Sudan, around those peripheral areas, then it's it hits home all that more deeply.
And now it's time for the questionnaire. Stay, watch. I can't. There are no words. This week is Gerard Butler.
I'm not good at watching films more than once, but there are a couple. Probably the one that I can just easily put on is Apocalypse Now.
This is the end.
Just something so captivating about that movie, just visually, my initial connections with it. There is no other film like it.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
When Martin Sheen finally meets Marlon Brando, that build-up. I've never known a film where there is such a build-up, a character, such a mysterious character, and somebody mirroring his actions, like climbing into his mind as they make that journey. And so when they finally meet, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Are you an assassin? I'm a soldier. You're neither.
Anything with Paul Newman or Steve McQueen, I love The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. I mean, I could go on with those Cool Hand Luke, but then you say that and then there's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They're just movies that, I don't know, for me, maybe being a guy's guy, but Paul Newman and McQueen were the dudes. Papillon, Steve McQueen. I just loved how when you have a guy, this is the characters that I love to take on as well, exceptionally quiet and yet very, very willful and stubborn, and so much going on in their minds, but you just, but sucking you in, you just don't, and then you never know, unpredictable, when yet this strength and this endurance, just guys that just, by just existing, are fascinating.
I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
So I married an axe murderer, Mike Myers. So I put that on and I'm like, you know what? Heat! Get out of the way of that television. There was great Scottish characters in there. They just do the stupidest stuff.
If you think I'm sexy and you want my body, all you got to do is call.
It's just so irreverent and silly. Mike Myers was a genius. It was when he was at his best. And it's just one of those movies, I think, that you just get so wrapped up in it.
Yes, I love you so much.
Oh, God. Charlie.
I'm naked, aren't I?
Yes, you are naked.